people are just going to be like, what's going to happen next week? Okay, what's going to happen next week? You know, like we can really have some fun with this and keep people guessing.
Yes, and I've been guessing, and I know you can't tell me who it's going to be, but I can certainly ask
Who do you think
in the
it's
form
going
of
to
a
be?
question. Does it rhyme with Tasha Banks?
Pro Wrestling Bits. Subscribe now.
Sorry in advance, by the way. This is my streaming setup. So usually I would look directly at you, but my screen is like right here and the screen right here, not a center one. So I promise you I'm not just looking at myself, you know.
Right. And I'm familiar with this. I've been studying you and some interviews you've done just to kind of come up with my own questions and whatnot. And I'm familiar with this setup and I do enjoy it. I like it. And I'm sure Lobster's there in the background. So
yeah, this one's Aussie. Lobster's somewhere running around. I don't know where he is, but usually he's here, but this is Aussie. He likes this room the most.
That's great. I love it. And it's great to see you in AEW. I know that you've been wanting to come to AEW for a while, and I just wanted to know, what was the first time you remember AEW hitting your radar and you saying that this is a company you'd like to work for? Because for me, it was that first pay-per-view with Cody and Dustin. Right away, I was like, okay, I'm in. This is a company I'm going to want to follow and cover, and I love it. So that was kind of love at first sight for me. But for you, was there any defining moment with AEW that got them on your radar?
Well, of course, when you're behind the scenes and stuff like that, you start to hear like rumblings of different things that's happening. So like a lot of us heard AEW was going to be a thing, you know, because of Cody and Young Bucks and, you know, Kenny and stuff like. So like you start hearing some rumors about that, and then when they start getting bigger and bigger, and then, you know, when Cody did the big hammer, you know, and the big like the Triple H hammer kind of thing. Like this is the kind of thing you're like, ooh, what's happening over there? So yeah, like I just heard of the prospect of it at first before it really started getting going, and I was just like, man, that's so cool that there's another company out there that's trying to, you know, go head to head with the other big company. And now it's another Goliath company, and they're successful. They're 3 years in, and they're just getting bigger and bigger. And it's just really, really nice to see that now that there's different platforms for wrestlers to go. It doesn't just have to be in WWE. Now you have another opportunity in AEW too. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah. And you've been a telltale example of that recently, having your first match back after several years away and you thinking you're retired. And I know you're very critical of yourself in terms of your return match, but now that some time has passed and you've gotten to kind of maybe break it down more, have you watched the match again? Are there any additional takeaways that you have in terms of your first match back?
I haven't watched the match. I can't get myself to watch it because, and it has nothing to do with Britt. It's all me because I'm really hard on myself anyway. So watching my matches back has always been like a little difficult. Unless I do it on my Twitch and people really want to watch it, I'm like, okay, yeah, we can definitely do that, you know. But even when I'm talking to them about it, I'm like, okay, just ignore that part, you know. But yeah, it's just, I'm very, very hard on myself. I know, I'm fully aware that I had a long time out of the business and it's really difficult to get back in and be 100% straight away like how you used to be. Like with age and also like just time away, things change and that's okay. And so like it's gonna take me some time to get back in the full swing of things. And now that I've kind of got the match out of the way, I can kind of like deep diver into character stuff too, because I was kind of too nervous throughout my time there so far. All I kept thinking about was like, okay, these promos, okay, this match. And I'm just like too busy trying to focus on those things. Like now I got the first match out of the way. Now I can like really start getting back, you know, creating Saraya.
Yeah, and you mentioned getting back into the swing of things, but you're in a very unique position where you grew up in the wrestling business. You obviously have a lot to offer in and out of the ring in terms of advice and whatnot, but also you're coming back after a long time. So I'm sure you're learning a lot at the same time. So in the locker room, do you find yourself in more of a mentorship role where you're giving advice, or do you also find that you're more asking for advice and trying to relearn as well?
Honestly, a bit of both. More so me learning, honestly, because like I've been out for a long time. Like AEW isn't where I haven't been there very long. Like these girls have been in this locker room a lot longer than I have. I'm new coming in, and again, I've been out for 5 years, and wrestling changes constantly. So I kind of sit back and watch everybody and watch their matches and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to keep up with these ladies. You know what I mean? So you just have to, and there's like moves like I haven't taken before or I haven't seen before, and I'm like blown away because, you know, you have such amazing, I mean, Tony has such an amazing division in his hands, and he can just do so much with it. And I'm so happy that even now, like the women's matches, there's 3 on like the pay-per-view, and the women are getting showcased more and more. And I'm just happy about that, honestly. And just, yeah, getting to be a part of it in a wrestling capacity too. Yeah, it's really, really cool. But also, yeah, I'm still like, I'm pretty much a noob again.
Yeah, let's talk about that division. I mean, I think it gets overlooked how loaded that AEW women's division is with you there. Obviously, the established stars like Britt Baker and Jade Cargill, who I think, forget women's stars, I'm talking transcendent type stars. And then we got people like Thunder Rosa and Chris Statlander on the way back. So it is a loaded division, and there's limited TV time, obviously. But do you feel that AEW should have an all-women's show down the line? Is that something you'd be here for?
I mean, I'm always for an all-women show for sure. I feel like there could be a tag division we can get going as well, like a tag team championships. I don't think we should load every wrestling with a ton of championships, but there is space for a women's tag division too. There is a lot of women we have backstage that are not on the show, and that could give them an opportunity to be on the show. And I just, there's always so much we can do with the women, and people don't realize how much talent we actually have backstage. Ruby just came back, and then obviously you have Toni Storm, you have Jamie Hayter, you have Nyla, you have Athena, you have so many women back there. Willow, who's an up and coming big old baby face. People,
one of my favorites.
Her. Yeah, she's a lot of people's favorites, right? She's absolutely awesome. So people kind of overlook it a little bit, and I'm just like, no, like they're huge, massive, like there's so many star potentials as well backstage that people haven't seen yet too.
Okay, so you mentioned the women's tag team division potentially. You are going to have a mystery tag team partner right here in my backyard of Inglewood, California. I will be at that show on the floor. Awesome. I cannot wait. It's a 1-month build to a tag team partner, so this can't just be anybody. Do you mind sharing some details, maybe a clue as to who that might be?
You know what? It's just having the opportunity to really tell a story too. Like that's the big part of it. Obviously, I'm not going to share who it's going to be.
Sure.
But yeah, like I like the fact that Tony has gave us, essentially like 6 weeks, including like last week or whatever, time to really tell a story rather than just walking out, and being like, me and you are going to face each other. We have time to really build it. And I really, really love that. Like, I love that aspect of it where people are just going to be like, what's going to happen next week? Okay, what's going to happen next week? Like we can really have some fun with this and keep people guessing.
Yes. And I've been guessing, and I know you can't tell me who it's going to be, but I can certainly ask
who do you think is going to be?
Question. Does it rhyme with Tasha Banks?
I feel like anytime that there's like a mystery, everyone always goes straight for Mercedes, like straight away they're like it's her. But I mean, there's plenty of women out there. I'm not going to say yes or no to anybody, but yeah, there's a lot of exciting prospects for a possible tag partner.
Yes, you're right about the speculation of that, but this would be a situation specific to you because this would be a full circle type deal. I know that the first person you texted when you got cleared was Mercedes, because she was unfairly criticized for a freak accident. And this would be a great story. You talk about storytelling. I think that would be a phenomenal story, don't you?
I mean, don't get me, I've always said that I would want to work with Sasha again in any capacity because she is a pro, especially in the wrestling side of things. She's such a fantastic athlete. Like, you can't deny her talent. She's fantastic. And yeah, I've said this in every interview because I just know, like, people can be really tough on people, especially female athletes, which is super frustrating because in wrestling, I feel like, especially female athletes carry their weight. You know what I mean? Like they can go toe to toe with most of the guys. So it's just the fact that if someone gets a little bit hurt, especially in the women's division, the whole internet blows up and they're just like, this person's unsafe, this person's unsafe. Like, I remember this one time, I think Brie hurt somebody and it really annoyed me because she never hurts anybody. But the fact that people blew up on her to be like, you hurt, you're unsafe. And she's like, it was just one person. In like a 15-year career, that's actually really good. And you can't go into a business without accidentally hurting someone at some point. It's wrestling, you sign up for this kind of stuff. The amount of times that I've accidentally like poked someone in the eye or, like accidentally hit them a little bit too hard. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, afterwards. But you don't take it personally backstage. the people that take it personally, the people on the internet, you know what I mean? People on the internet take it personally for you. But me and Sasha have always been on good terms. We've just been like, hey, it is what it is. But Sasha mentally, it just fucked with her, and it's not fair.
I have noticed in terms of any type of WWE versus AEW war, there is probably a dynamic in real life within the locker rooms, but I do feel that's more of an internet Twitter type thing.
I don't see it backstage. Like when I was backstage in WWE, I didn't see people talking shit about AEW. People were just happy that there's another place for people to go, because when people would get let go in WWE, we'd be so devastated for people. You know what I mean? It'd be like someone just died or something like that. You know, it would be like, oh, but now we're just like, well, you have an opportunity in AEW now. Like, you know, we get happy for people like that they have a place that they can go that's just as big and just as Goliath, just as gigantic, you know, such a big platform. You have so many opportunities. I mean, people are getting reality shows out of AEW, getting TV shows out of AEW. You know what I mean? They get to be part of like NFL stuff because of Tony and football or soccer to Americans. But there's so many opportunities come from AEW that you can't help but be happy for people. So when I came to AEW too, granted, I'm like more of like it's just hanging out with a lot of the girls and stuff like that, and but I don't see anyone talking crap. Like no one talks crap about each other behind the scenes. Everyone's just genuinely really happy. It's just the internet. I don't know what it is, but people take sides, and people are just like, "Why? Just be happy. Be happy." You know?
It is a tribal time we're living in, and I do get the sense that the locker room has been very welcoming to you, and it's very harmonious in terms of your return, which is why I'm so impressed with the story that you and Britt told, because that was basically the story, right? Former WWE star coming into AEW against a day one AEW, and you guys did a good job, I think as good as anybody has tried to tell that story. So what did you change in terms of that?
It was difficult at times because, you know, like people were just like, well, who's the face and who's the heel? And at the point, we got to a point like, who cares, right? You're going to boo me or cheer me. Like you're going to cheer me for me coming back, right? The people are having for me. But people are going to be a little bit pissed that I'm there and get into face Britt Baker straight away. You know, so people are going to boo and cheer me. And then people are going to boo and cheer Britt because she's fantastic being a heel. But also, she did grow the company. You know what I mean? She was the first signee. She did build the women's division. And I'm trying to say that, like, this is my house now. You know what I mean? Like, so we just took it in a way where we're like, okay, they got to boo or they got to cheer for who the hell they want to boo and cheer for. We're just going to have some fun. So when we did that promo, it felt really fun. And then she was like, I'm going to deliver a promo like that too. And she did it. And so it really confused a lot of people at that point, but they were invested. Like, they were still going to watch, which I loved. And it was one of the most anticipated matches. I mean, there was a bunch of anticipated matches on there. We had like a stacked card. So it was really hard to like be placed. I'm like, do we want to go over, do we want to go after the Young Bucks and Kenny? Do we want to go before Mox and MJF? There's so many girls matches too. Like, do we want to go after Jay? Do we want to go before Tony? Like, you know what I mean? Because everyone's just going to be killing it. So it was like, what do we want to go on this card? And we were just, you know, happy to get a slot at the end of the day, whether we went after like a crazy match or not. But the crowd were really receptive in the beginning, right? And then as soon as I took my first bump, everyone was just like the rest of the match. Like I feel like they were genuinely so scared for me. And that's like sweet at the same time. I'm like, I promise I'm good. I promise I'm so good. And then at the end, like everyone was just really loud and it was just really wonderful. I think they were just happy that I got through it. But I'm like, I promise I'm healed. I'm good. But yeah, it was a really fun story to be a part of, and I'm excited to start building a bunch of new stories and work with other people too. Like I'm just happy to be doing something, honestly.
Yeah, and you're a super creative person. I know that you were very vocal when WWE put the hammer down about third parties, and you've built a streaming channel. And so you've got this great creative mind. And I'm excited to see what you intend on building with the Saraya character. What kind of ideas have come to your mind in terms of how you can evolve the character and continue to grow?
Well, now I can be a more elevated version of myself, and we have a lot of creative freedom. So, man, I would love to be a heel, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
Like, I have so many different ideas being a heel, and I feel like it's like I always say to people, it's so much easier to be a heel than it is to be a baby face, because it's hard, especially in today's world. get people to like you straight out the gate. You know what I mean? Because I'm essentially starting from scratch again. So, but being a heel, it's so much easier to get people to hate you. Like, it's so easy. Like, you know, you can just walk out and people start booing you. They're like, I don't like the way she walks. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, I would love to be a heel and I can be really creative with that. And I feel like even in WWE, I felt more comfortable when I was doing more of my heelish work. Like I felt better. And you don't take things as personally when you're a heel too. You're like, whatever, I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like if I'm babyface, I'm like, damn, why don't you like me? But I'm just like, if you're a heel, you're like, whatever. I'm just doing my job, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Did you at all push to maybe portray a heel role in this feud with Britt Baker? Because to your point, there were cheers, there were boos, and there was kind of split reaction. Was there any part of you that wanted to say, screw it, you know, I'm the outsider, I'll be the heel?
Yeah, I remember saying that to Britt, honestly, but she had a point. I mean, there's not a whole lot of baby faces. There is a lot of heels in the company. Even though Jamie is a heel, she's a baby face. Let's be real. Like people love her. And if I was to face her, I would definitely have to be a heel. There's no way I would be cheered over Jamie or even Willow. You know what I mean? Like those two are like really big baby faces of the company. But I would, yeah, I did want to at one point because I said to her after she did that promo, after we did the in-ring promo where she sounded really, really babyface. Like like even though she was being a heel, like what she was saying was accurate. You're like, yeah, actually you did do all that. Yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? It's hard not to get behind her. I said to her, I was like, I feel like I should be the heel. Like I really do. I feel like we should like give her a switch up. And she was like, dude, whatever's gonna happen is like we're gonna go out there and they're just gonna be happy to see you. And like a lot of people are just going to be happy that, you know, like Britt is wrestling and she's going to be, you know, it was just really hard. So we're just like, people are going to cheer for me if I was going to be heel and boo me, and people are going to cheer and boo her at the same time. So we might as well just kept going down the direction we were going. And then maybe one day, you know, I'll become heel, you know what I mean? But at that point, it was hard to switch and change because you just didn't know how the crowd were going to be.
What is the secret? Because this is a problem I've noticed across all of wrestling in terms of we're in this era where I think people just know too much. So there will come a point where heels get cheered and even baby faces get booed. And I do feel there is a casting problem in wrestling where I don't think it's harder to be a heel. The world, especially the wrestling world, is so toxic. People want somebody to hate.
Yeah.
But when you watch the product, it's like all these bad guys are getting cheered. So what do you think both companies can do to help that to where heels get booed like heels?
Oh, man. Well, I feel like, I mean, a lot of people, if they're a heel, they're kind of like a badass heel. So it's like hard to not get behind. And so like, for example, I feel like the person that can flip flop and not change character very much was Stone Cold. I feel like he did a really good job like that. But nowadays, people like badasses and they like people that kind of say F you to authority and like, and a lot of people do that as heels these days. But then you have people like Vicky Guerrero, who's nonstop like a fantastic freaking heel. And then I feel like Jericho does such a good job at being heel. MJF is a great heel, but people can't help but get behind him too, because what he's saying is accurate, you know, especially with what he was saying to Regal. You couldn't help but be like, oh man, like I feel bad for you. Like this is what he said to you. That's crazy. And he's just so good at promos, you can't help but respect it too. So there's just, I just feel like it's hard to figure out what the crowd want because the crowd can be fickle. So one week they can like you and then the next week they can boo you. So it's really hard to be a babyface or a heel. It's just, it's really, really hard because you just, again, you don't know how people are going to react. Like for example, Jamie, again, she is a heel, but people love her so much. It's really difficult for her to be a heel. Even if she was to do some shitty things like cheating in the ring and doing all these things, people are just like, you know, like you can't help it. Like she's just, people just love her. Like people either love you or hate you. So it's hard to really nail down like what people can do more. But I mean, if I was a heel, it would be mostly just the storytelling part of things, like just. Like, I love how The Miz is a really good heel. Like, you can't help but hate the guy. Like, there's no way he could be a babyface. Him and Maurice, you know what I mean? It's just, and Jericho, he's just so good at being a heel. Like, you can't help but, like, even though he's been in the business a really long time, he's just so good at storytelling. Like, he's the person you go to as well. If you want to be like, okay, I need to tell a story as the heel, like, you go to Jericho, and then he'll have all these great ideas, So yeah, if people are getting cheered, they should just go to people that know how to tell like a crazy story, know how to flip a switch, because it takes a lot and it takes a long time and it takes, you know, like a lot of wisdom in the business, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would go to, if you're in AEW, go to Jericho. If you're in WWE, I mean, there's a plethora of good heels there too.
Yeah. And as you progress in your journey, what would you personally define as success? Because you can't let anybody define what success is for you. What does success look like for Saraya in terms of any personal goals you've set in this run? Anything, whether it's a title that you want to win, whether it's a match you want to have, what is something that you would look back and say, yes, okay, this was a successful run?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, happiness, because I've been through a lot in my short life. I'm only 30, but I went through a lot of public things and I was at the complete rock bottom of my life. But happiness is the main goal. If you can walk away, it's not about money. It's not about like what jobs you have. If you're internally like very happy, then you've won. But when it comes to like my wrestling side of things, I've done a lot of stuff already, which I'm really, really happy about. I mean, I have a movie about my life. Not many people can say that. And I feel like that is success in itself, to be so young and have that opportunity to have a movie about you. And it was a successful one too. And I'm like, holy crap, like it's fantastic. And then getting signed to WWE was, like it doesn't matter how long I was there for. I could be there for 5 minutes. I made it there, and that's like that door doesn't open for everybody. So being able to get there and win championships, be the first ever NXT Women's Champion, be the Divas Champion twice, be the youngest ever NXT Women's Champion, youngest Divas Champion. Like there's so many things I did. I got my WrestleMania match, amazing. Do I want to be in the Hall of Fame one day? Absolutely. With AEW, I'm in this brand new company that's huge, and like just being able to go into another company and be happy is success in itself too. And then on top of that, of course, there's championships I want to win there. Do I want to the women's one, the TBS one? Like I want to be a part of something special there, and that's a goal of mine. And to be able to help out any way I can through experience, that's success to me. There's so many different areas that you can be successful, honestly, but mostly if your brain is happy, you're happy.
Yeah, you've come a long way, and it's great to hear you talk about all these different goals you want to accomplish. I think that's going to keep
you never stop. Like Dwayne would say, stay humble and hungry. And I always add patience onto it, because not everything comes overnight. But he does have the best advice. You want to stay hungry because you don't want to get complacent. You always want to set goals, always. Even if you feel like you've hit like the pinnacle of what you can hit, you haven't. You can always break through more ceilings. You can always do more things. And then stay humble, because you always want people to be able to work with you. I feel like if you're a dick, you're gonna it's gonna be very limited on who's gonna work with you and who's gonna help you, because at the end of the day, it is a ladder, and at some point you're gonna come down even a little bit, and you're gonna pass those people because they're gonna keep climbing up, and you want them to return the favor to you one day. So you always want to be humble and hungry and patient.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this interview. This has been fantastic. And your comment about the ladder leads into my final question, actually, because right now, as we speak, breaking all over the place, the potential of somebody who did fall off the ladder, Vince McMahon possibly coming back to WWE. So my only question on that, do you think that would be good for WWE? Do you think it'd be good for AEW? What are your thoughts on the current wrestling landscape and a potential Vince
He's
McMahon?
only been out for a couple of months. So I do this thing where I delete social media off my phone, and my manager has to tell me all the time, like, okay, post. And I'm like, oh shoot, okay, so I'll go in there and post. But I'm a lot happier not looking at it, right? So I don't know what's going on in the world sometimes. Like I'm in my own shell. So this is the first time I'm hearing about it's potentially coming back. I feel like WWE is doing a really great job with Hunter in charge, and I feel like everyone backstage is very happy from what people have been telling me, and like it's just people across the board are just happy. Not saying that it won't be if Vince comes back, but I felt like this breather was needed to really shake things up a bit over there and get people like excited. But I don't know if he comes back, is he gonna undo everything that Hunter's done? Like that's the question. You just don't know what's gonna happen. So I don't work there anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. I have Tony, and he's just fantastic as a boss to me. So like, if I have any issues, like I can tell him, and he'll be always like very clear and with stuff. Where I just get nervous if Vince comes back for them, because you just don't know what he's thinking on a day-to-day basis. Oh man, so I don't know. It's I don't work there anymore.
Fair answer. That's great. Very, very good answer. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the time, Saraya. It's very exciting to see you back. You're absolutely right about Fighting with My Family. It's such a fantastic movie. I often fear about these Hollywood movies about pro wrestling because I've seen a lot of bad ones, but I have seen a couple of great ones, especially in recent years, and yours is one of them. So thank you so much for all your contributions to pro wrestling. Hope we cross paths, and I look forward to seeing you in Englewood. It's going to be a very fun show. I already know it.
I'll see you there, dude. Thank you so much for this interview. I had so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Meech, thank you. You're great.